Hey family, today we're going to talk about how they think that the Sabbath was changed from Saturday to Sunday. And we're going to talk about this in its fullness, and we're going to talk about how it was changed, because there was no biblical man for the Sabbath to be changed to Sunday. And when you look in the world, you see that the world does keep Sunday. So something happened, and if there's no biblical command, we have to figure out what happened. And when we look in history, we see how the Sabbath was changed from Saturday to Sunday. And first thing I want to point out is that it was a gradual change. It was something that took many, many years to happen. It wasn't something that happened overnight. Another thing I want to point out, that it happened over prosecution, not because of a biblical command. See, now we know why Christians accepted Sunday, because they were being prosecuted, because the Jews and the Roman Empire were going into a lot of wars, and the Roman Empire thought that the Christians were Jews because they were still keeping the Sabbath. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to take a look at this in three parts. We're going to look at the first part, which was the early church kept Sunday because prosecution. The second part is that Constantine passed Sunday laws to Christianize his pagan empire because Christianity was taking over the empire. And three, the Catholic Church passed more Sunday laws to strengthen Constantine's Sunday laws, because afterwards the early church was still keeping Sabbath. So when did Sunday worship start? Well, it started in 150 AD. And this is the only authentic record that we have. Now there's other records that say that they were keeping the Sabbath before 150 AD. But those records are proven to be unauthentic. Like the Didache. The Didache is a spurious record. No one knows who wrote it. And other things also. So basically the only authentic record we have is from Justin Martyr, which was 150 AD. Now, he says that the Jews started to keep Sunday as a festival. Interesting, a festival is not as the day of worship. But at that time, there was two groups of Christians. Or there was three groups of Christians at that time. You had the Roman Christians who kept Sunday. You had the Gentile Christians who kept both days. And you had the Jewish Christians who kept Sabbath. So from 150 to 321, wars between Jews and the Christians and the Roman Empire were beginning to open. But it goes back even before that, because Paul was blamed for burning the city when he had nothing to do with it. Now Constantine comes in, and he sees that his empire is getting destroyed. Not destroyed, but it's being converted into Christianity. And he sees this as a problem because his empire worships many gods. So around the 4th century, Constantine is going to go to war because he was having struggles to be able to have full control of his empire. He goes to war, and he says that he sees a sign in heaven saying "Conquer my name," and that sign that he saw was a cross. So he says that he sees the cross, and he goes and he conquers. And one of the first things he does after he supposedly turns Christian, which we know is a lie, because archaeologists has excavated the temples that he had built in his time, and under the Christian temples, in the bottom, they were worshiping the sun. So at the top during the day, they were pretending to be Christians, and then in the bottom, in the nighttime, they were worshiping the sun. So we know by archaeological proof that he did not convert to Christianity. It was all for show. It was all a political move so that he can keep his empire. But Constantine passes the first Sunday law ever on earth. Now, like I said, the Christians were keeping Sunday before, but they were keeping Sunday as a festival. What's a festival? All right, so we keep the Sabbath holy and worship God on the Sabbath today, and then tomorrow we go to someone's house. That's a festival. They're not worshiping, they're celebrating. They weren't keeping the Sabbath, the Sunday as a worship, but with gradual, since they started to have so much fun on Sunday, that they just said, look, it was a gradual process. So Constantine says in 321 AD on his Sunday law, with his state and religion unite. State and religion has united because this is a political power, the ruler of the world, passing laws that now you have to go to church on Sunday. And you know what God says, what happens when state and religion renites, he doesn't want that because it always ends on prosecution of his commandment-keeping people. So it says, on the venerable day of the sun, let the magistrates and the people residing in the city rest, and all worship shops be closed. Everything has to be closed. And in the country, however, persons engaging in agriculture may freely and lawfully continue their pursuit. So, Sunday's law were passed and everything was to be closed except for the farms. Now, you had to keep this because this was a law. If you didn't keep it, what would happen? You would go to jail. And this is what we see happening about 20 years after this law. Constantine started prosecuting the Christian church, which he was a Christian, because they were still keeping the Sabbath. The early church before this did not keep Sunday because it was a law or a command from God. It was only because of persecution, and they started to keep Sunday because they were being killed. The Jews in the Roman Empire were in a lot of wars, and the early church kept the Sabbath, and the Roman Empire confused them, killing off the Christians because they thought they were Jews. Here papal Rome enters, and they see that there's a problem because the Christians are still keeping Saturday. And the papal Rome comes together in the year about, in the same century, the 4th century, early Rome comes together, and they pass another Sunday law saying, Christians shall not Judaize. Where does the Sabbath of the Jews come from? It comes from the Roman Catholic Church. Christians shall not Judaize and be idle on Saturday, Sabbath, but they shall work on that day. But the Lord's day they shall especially honor as being Christians. So here we read the process, and we know the process of what happened on how Sunday came into existence, of a gradual process from 150 all the way to the 4th century with laws being passed, not because of they were Christians, because they were political powers and they wanted personal gain. Now we see that this is going to happen once again because God has given us the Sabbath. In the 20th century, he has revealed to his church the Sabbath once again. And since the 20th century, he has a people as a whole keeping the Sabbath. And we're going to see that this is going to happen again because people, or America, is going to merge with Rome because of prosecution, because of wars, because of the same thing. History is going to repeat. And America, the political power of the world, is going to merge with Rome, the religious power. We're going to see state and religion unite, and they're going to pass laws saying that the Christian has to keep Sunday instead of Saturday once again, and they're going to go to jail and they're going to be prosecuted. That's the same way as the early church was prosecuted. So what does the Bible say? The Bible says in Daniel 7:25 that the papal power, the little horn, would think to change times and laws. That word think means that it's not really changed. In the book of Isaiah, Jesus Christ says that when he comes back, he's going to reveal the Sabbath to the world, and he's going to show them that they were wrong. So this is the gradual process of how the Sabbath was changed. What happens now that you heard this message? You have to prepare. There is no more time. Jesus Christ is soon to return. And when he returns, he's coming to pick up his children. And he's going to destroy everyone else. And I'm telling you this because this is the final warning. Just like Noah preached, get into the ark. This is the preaching of get into the ark once again. Jesus Christ is soon to return. Give your heart to him every day and live according to his word.